For more analysis, we are joined by Alexander Khara, the executive director of the Center for Defense Strategies, speaking to us from Kyiv. Alexander, I'd like to start with the latest drone strikes in Kyiv. Can you tell us about the last few hours there?
Hello, Brian. Good to be on your show. Well, the latest numbers are there were 14 missiles and 250 drones. Less than half missiles and less than half of drones Ukrainian forces intercepted. And it was loud and just like it was quite an unpleasant experience seeing how Ukrainian air defense is trying to shut down incoming missiles over my apartment building. And the stories of that kind I heard from my friends from other districts of Kyiv. So it was a nightmare. And I believe it was a sign of readiness of Russia, and certainly I'm a bit sarcastic here, to put an end to this war.
A difficult way to go through a morning with that over your head and that constant presence, constant threat. Alexander, we've seen already, I want to go back to this prisoner swap for a moment. The first phase of that swap, there's been some powerful images of soldiers and civilians that were released, some breaking down when talking to loved ones on the phone. When you look at the moments like those, does this give any hope that this war could come to an end anytime in the near future?
Not at all. Certainly, we are happy to get our boys and girls back home. And in this particular swap, we got 270 military personnel and 120 civilians. Unfortunately, the Russians are reluctant to release our heroic defenders of Mariupol from Azov Brigade, Crimean Tatars that are being illegally detained almost on daily basis in illegally occupied Crimea, and Ukrainian journalists. So we have many hostages, not just prisoners of war, but civilian hostages being taken by the Russians. But there is no reason to believe that Russia is ready to seriously, in good faith, negotiate an end to this war. They believe they have enough resources and they have will to conquer the whole of Ukraine. They are preparing for the summer offensive, and they see that the West is shaking. We've seen that the United States, with the current administration, stepping back from supporting Ukraine, both diplomatically, because we've been criticized by the Trump administration many times, and we even got this military and intelligence assistance pause just to exert pressure over Ukraine related to the Earth material deal. But Putin enjoys impunity. There were no sanctions imposed on Russia, even though Russia rejected all the peace proposals from the United States. And recently, the Russians actually pushed forward their vision of the negotiation process. So they rejected the idea of a ceasefire. Instead, they said, well, we're going to kill Ukrainians while they need to, let's say, outline the conditions of their surrender. So that's why I believe it's all those signs are encouraging Putin to carry on this war. And I would say that there is no diplomatic solution to this war. Russia will advance unless it's stopped by military means. And now we see that our Western partners and Europe is doing a great job, but not enough to stop Russians and to expel them from the occupied territories.
Well, you mentioned the pressure there. There's been some new pressure from Ukrainian allies to push the Kremlin toward a ceasefire, yet we've also seen the United States warn of backing away from any mediation. So where do you see the next chapter of this war going?
Well, I hope it's not in the interest of Mr. Trump and this administration to see a failure in Ukraine, like in Afghanistan and some other places. So I believe they will be engaged in talks. They may try to use it as a leverage against Ukraine. And actually, it's not possible to solve all those strategic issues that the United States face in the Indo-Pacific and the Middle East without solving the Russian problem. So even if Trump decides to step back from this diplomatic process, he will be brought back by the necessity of solving the Russian issue sometime in the future. But unless the Russians fail in the summer offensive, and unless there is a real pressure, not that type of sanctions that have been imposed by European partners and others, you know that Europeans are still buying Russian oil. European companies transporting this oil to foreign markets and European market as well. Greece and Malta allow this transshipment of the Russian oil to their vessels in their territorial waters. And there are many other cases where Europeans are not doing enough to hit Russia hard. Not to mention the United States that promised to impose some sanction if Russia does not agree on the ceasefire. Actually, Russia rejected it several times and never honored those agreements that they reached with Americans, and there was no consequences for that. So that's why I believe such an behavior just encourages the Kremlin. Finally, there are some good news, and I'm talking about this draft of the resolution in Senate that got more than 80 senators. They are willing to support this resolution. They may impose 500% tariffs on those countries that are trading with Russia or assisting Russia. And particularly, we're talking about China and India, who are actually supporting Russia by buying their energy and thus getting Russia hard currencies they need to run this wartime economy and kill Ukrainians. So I hope that this leverage will be used.
And we will see if they will. Alexander, Khara, thank you and stay safe.
And thank you for having me. Thank you, Brian.